These days, when you are TIG welding aluminum, everybody tells you to grind your tungsten like this. And that may not be the best option after all. I'm going to show you a way to give you a tighter and more defined arc, and it's not what you've been taught. Okay, when you step on your pedal and you light up your arc for your welding pass, what do? The filler material in your hand is ready to go. Do you just light up and start feeding it right away and start ripping? The first 5 seconds of every welding pass are the most important moments of opportunity with every welding pass that you do. Watch this pass right here. Take a look at the arc up. What do you see with it? Do we see anything wrong here? Interesting. Watch it again. If I were looking at this one, what would I pick out for feedback on this one? Okay, here's the first of 3 quizzes that we are going to do here today. Let's see how you do. Here are your options. Looking at it again here is the problem number 1. Too much filler material? Is the problem number 2? Is it moving off the start too fast? Or is the problem number 3? Bad filler angle. Okay, you've seen it a couple times now. What do you see? It's really obvious to me, but looking at it again here, in my opinion, the correct answer would be option number 2. This is moving off the start too fast. If you watch any of my videos, you know there is a certain saying that I say on this show all the time, and that saying is fill and chill. Okay, for the first quiz, did you get the right answer? Either way, it's all good. This is for fun. But I do want to know how you do with these quizzes, so hold up. Look at this welding pass right here. Sparking up with the start here, you can see there is a definite difference in the first 5 seconds of this one. You see what I did with that one? The answer is not much. I lit up, I waited for the puddle to form, I gave it a little bit of filler, and then I literally just stopped to wait for everything to establish and blend into the base material before any moving or traveling. I might double dip, but it's all about patience with this one. Here is a totally different joint configuration, and again, look at the start with the amount of time that I take to get going here. I am taking my sweet time here, no rush. Little bit of filler material, just chilling out in absolutely no hurry until the start is 100% ready to go. Some people might even argue that I take too long to get going with these passes. But what I'm doing is giving things a little bit of filler material right at the start here. And then because I am now working with filler material, not just base material, I have the luxury of hanging out for a few extra seconds and allowing a little bit more time so that the heat input can do its thing. Now with a pass where I light up and get ripping right away, look at the start here. You can see that the start is underdeveloped. We don't see any proper fusion right at the beginning. And there is a period at the beginning of this pass where I actually have to do a bunch of correction right here. Looking at this one here, do you see how everything is completely established as far as proper fusion right at the beginning and allowing the heat input to fully establish and blend the filler material into the base material. As I start moving away from the start, there is literally no change. There are no adjustments or no corrections to make. We can see everything is established right at the beginning, and then the consistency carries on away from there. At this point, all you really have to do once you start traveling is just maintain and babysit everything that you established at the beginning of the welding pass. As you're traveling, you just literally have to make sure that you carefully keep the balance between the filler material and the heat input in check. And look at these examples here again. Check it out. What I want you to look at here specifically is the cleaning action. Check it out. You see that the cleaning action on this first example looks a little bit inconsistent. We can see at the start, it looks a little bit fuzzy and erratic, and it doesn't look consistent from start to finish. Whereas taking a look at this one here, we can see it looks much more smooth and defined right at the beginning, and it carries on pretty consistently from the start all the way to the finish. When I'm checking out somebody's aluminum TIG welding, giving them feedback, one of the most important things, probably honestly the most important thing that I check out is the cleaning action. The cleaning action is a dead giveaway for how somebody did with the balance between heat and filler. If this balance gets out of balance, you can see that the edges of the welding pass will not have proper fusion and the cleaning action looks like shit. Looking at this one where we have a good, smooth, blended edge, take a look at how consistent and smooth the cleaning action is. Right on. This is an indication that you have this balance done perfectly. Well done. Clap, clap, clap. When you establish this consistency right at the beginning of each pass, this is how you get that robotic looking consistency that makes it look like it's been done by robots. Everything that you want is established in the first step of each welding pass. take this stuff into serious consideration. This is where the majority of your arc stability is going to be formed right at the beginning. This is where we get everything established nice and smooth with the puddle right at the beginning, and combined with the next couple tips I'm about to give you here, all you have to do is just maintain what you start at the beginning. But take a look at my tungsten here. Oh my gosh, this tungsten has a ball on the end of it. How dare I use this? These days, everybody tells you you should not do your tungsten like this. And as a matter of fact, even in the actual manuals for inverter type machines, it tells you specifically not to do this. So why am I such a naughty boy? I'm gonna get drinks on my books here. Hear me out. I have done over 20 years of professional TIG welding experience, combined with certification, using all kinds of fancy gear, the fanciest stuff that you can find these days. And I've also done some work with some old school type machines that I love. So after experimenting with everything, why don't I use a pointed tungsten? Because every weld that we will all do is going to be different from one another for the most part. The one most important setting that keeps your tungsten perfectly pointed is the precarious setting of balance. This will balance the different polarities between DC positive and DC negative, and anytime we start to increase the positive side, we can potentially start to see the tip of the electrode become misshapen or demented. Sometimes you can see it flutter a little bit, wobble around slightly. So let me ask you, what if I'm doing a project like this here, or a welding exercise like this here, where the material is pretty thin? We want to do some nice outside corner work like this here. We need the arc to lock on perfectly, but then we got to transfer over and work on some thicker material like this here, like some heavier welding, like a fillet joint inside of some plate that's a little bit thicker. What's going to happen is if I set my balance on my machine so that I want to keep a pointed tungsten perfectly, when I'm welding on this stuff, it may work absolutely fine. But then if I flash up with the same electrode on something thicker like this, the tip of the tungsten is going to be under more stress because of more amperage requirements, and it's very possible and most likely that the tip of the tungsten is going to wobble around like it's on its 10th beer at a Nickelback concert. However, if you prepare your tungsten electrode like this, watch how I do it. You can see I am just lightly grinding a small taper on the end of this electrode, and again, this electrode is tiny. This is a 2.4 millimeter or 3/32 of an inch tungsten electrode, and the length of this grind is somewhere around 2 times that thickness in length. I'm also going to leave a little flat spot on the end, like a blunted preparation, and then I'm going to slightly ball the end of the tungsten. You can see in this chapter of my textbook here exactly how I do it. Now, looking at this when it's all finished, do we see some giant crazy blob hanging on the end of this electrode? No. Again, look at the overall diameter of the electrode. Like I mentioned, you can see that the ball on the end of it is even smaller than that because of the taper I ground earlier. What this is going to do is a ball preparation, and again, a very small one on the end of your electrode is going to handle any discrepancy with your balance setting between different types of welding joints you may be doing. This way, we don't have to make any corrections or adjust the balance setting at all. You can weld super hot stuff like this, no problem, with no fluttering or distorting. And again, just for the sake of recommendation, I typically sometimes will set my balance anywhere between 75% negative, 25% positive or cleaning, or even sometimes just 70-30. Again, it depends on what you are welding, and it depends on what kind of amperage you are using for your weld. But again, this ratio will kind of get you in the ballpark of what you probably want. This is going to help to keep your tungsten relatively stable and not fluttering around or getting messed up. It's also going to give you really good cleaning action with your passes because you can run a little more positive or cleaning side of your balance. But because this is such a small preparation in the grand scheme of things, you still get the really pinpoint accuracy that you would if you were using a preparation with a pointed tip. Now, when you're grinding your electrodes, try and keep the grind as smooth as you can, for gosh sake. This belt here is a worn out 220. It is almost super fine now. This isn't used for grinding any other metals. This is just for grinding these trodes. As you can see in my textbook here, avoid radial grinding or any diagonal stuff. You want everything to be lengthwise and as smooth as possible with your grinding grain. Now, for everybody here on YouTube, I did make a YouTube lesson completely on grinding and preparing your tungsten. The link to that is in the description below. Go check it out. Take a look at the footage of this lighting up up and arcing on here. We can see that when it flashes up, it lights up and locks onto its target pretty much right away. This is in slow motion, by the way. This is exactly what we want. Now take a look at this clip here. We can see this one is flickering around side to side. This is actually something that I call arc deflection. Imagine if you had some really thin, precise stuff that you were about to weld, and then you flash up and your arc is swinging around all over the place like it's moshing at a knocked loose show. We want this thing to fire up and lock on with laser focus. Another thing I should mention here, even though this is kind of common sense, looking at this tungsten here, what would you change about it? Here we go, quiz number 2. Here are your options. Option 1. The ball on the end is too big. Option 2, the stick out is way too long past the cup. Or option 3, the tungsten is dirty and contaminated. Ooh, this is a good one. Which answer you got? Although you could absolutely make a good argument for the other options, in my opinion, the best option is number 3. The tungsten is dirty and contaminated. Look at all this crap up around this area here. Remember that term that we just learned a few minutes ago, arc deflection? This stuff absolutely causes it without question. The arc will be bouncing around off all of this stuff, and remember, we are dealing with electricity here. Electricity is stupid and lazy. It takes the path of least resistance. All of these little bits of contamination that have collected here cause that. With a silky smooth grind as well as a pinpoint tip that is clean as a whistle, you flash up and that thing is going to lock on right away. Talk about this all the time. If you dip your electrode, take it out of your tungsten, immediately switch it out for a clean one. Especially if you were working with like really thin material at lower amperage, don't mess around. Keep the cleanest preparation you can on your tungsten, let's go. Again, what we want here is a tungsten that when you initiate your arc, flashes up and locks on with great accuracy. In combination with the perfect and patient starts that we talked about earlier, this is how you get the best accuracy and the best starts for those robotic looking welds. So let me ask you something else. What happens when you flash up with your arc and you see the puddle starting to wash around or wobble around a little bit? This is not supposed to happen. The arc might seem okay, but again, we can look at the edges of the puddles and we can see that they are wobbling around. Here is quiz number 3. And by the way, what I want you to do is put your overall scores in the comments below. For example, if you get 3 out of 3 all quizzes right, put 3 for 3. If you are like me, when I was trying to learn how to TIG weld, I was not sure of the answers and I probably would have bombed all these quizzes. I would have got 0 out of 3. All good, regardless of what you get for a score. I just want people to participate and we all have fun together. Okay, if we have a puddle that is wobbling around and getting all crazy, here are your options. Option 1, the torch angle is too steep. Option 2, the gas pressure is too high for the cup size you're using. Or option 3, the amperage is set way too high. Again, this one is tough. You could make a case for all of those, but the answer I would go with in this case here is option number 2, where your gas is set at too high of a level for your cup size. What I would do is immediately readjust the gas pressure coming through my regulator. Think of it like this. We have talked about completely super smooth and patient starts for good arc accuracy and good arc initiation. Those first 5 seconds of every weld is so important in combination with a good and properly prepared tungsten. Everything that we have done is essentially to create a perfect environment for a smooth and stable weld with perfect accuracy. And at this point, gas literally only has one job it has to do. The setting that you use on your gas regulator as far as your working pressure is not actually supposed to be the thing that determines if your weld turns out shiny or looks all crusty and weird. These first couple fundamentals that we talked about with our perfect starts, as well as a conscious setting with your balance, as well as your tungsten preparation, these are the things that are going to set the stage with the most important fundamentals to get you those good results with shiny and good looking stuff. When these fundamentals have been done really well and the balance between heat and filler have been balanced really well, the gas literally only has the one job of just shielding your welding puddle. That's it. We have to keep nitrogen and other crap in our atmosphere out of the welding area. This is how we prevent oxidization. You can reach a point where you have so much gas coming out of your torch that it will make your stuff look a little bit shinier, I guess. But proper balance between the heat input and the filler material you are using are things that are actually supposed to do that. The gas is literally just supposed to prevent oxidization. We actually aren't even supposed to use that much gas. When I'm setting up, I typically like working somewhere between 12.5 CFH. And again, I prefer to use something like a number 5 or a number 6 cup, no matter what I'm doing for aluminum. See, that is not that much gas. You can see welding with this super basic setup here. As we get going, things turn out pretty smooth. We can see a good shine to everything, nothing wrong with this at all. The edges of the pass are dead straight, no wobbling around. If you start jacking up the gas that you're using with TIG welding aluminum, you're gonna start to notice that the edges of your puddles start to wander a little bit, look a little weird. The puddle is gonna behave weird, especially if you're going around shapes and stuff like that. Not to mention, we waste a crap load of gas. When we have the gas set to a proper volume, especially in relation to the cup opening that we are using, things should absolutely smooth out and start running no problem at all with good stability. As a matter of fact, the balance between gas and cup is so important. You can see in my textbook here that for every lesson that I take you through, each one has the recommended gas and amperage setting, and it depends on the different projects and different exercises that you may be practicing, both on your own and in the book here. This stuff matters. The first 5 seconds of every arc that you do, the preparation and the accuracy of your tungsten. What was the third one again? And then the amount of gas that you are using to stabilize everything and shield your welding area. Make sure that you pick up one of these textbooks while they're available. Textbooks in school usually run you about $300 or something crazy like that. And the normal textbooks that I had to buy back in the day were boring. These books are way better looking. This is an actual curriculum that you follow as well. And then you scan the QR code here and it opens up a whole online curriculum that follows the book page by page, chapter by chapter. You also hang out with me and all the other people in the group there. It's like a social media site that is completely private for us welders with no dickheads. There is nowhere else for people to learn how to TIG weld like this. And again, I ship these all from this shop here. It is my company. This is my product. We package every envelope by hand. It's literally my wife and I who put all this together for you guys. There's never been a textbook like this before. Go grab your copy right now. Do a random act of kindness for a stranger today. My name is Dusty James. Phil and Chill. We'll talk soon. Peace.